In early 2024, Donald Trump stood before a crowd and publicly suggested he would encourage Russia to do whatever it wanted to NATO members who failed to pay their bills. The response was swift. European ministers called emergency sessions, and the NATO Secretary General issued a public rebuke, as diplomats scrambled to determine if the American security guarantee still held. To understand why those comments mattered, we must look at Europe in 1945. 2 world wars in 30 years killed 80 million people and left the continent in ruins. NATO was engineered specifically to break that cycle of nationalist rivalry. This wasn't a project of pure generosity. Washington ensured the continent remained stable, used American dollars, and hosted the military bases that cemented American global influence. NATO has functioned as the skeletal frame for Western security for 75 years. Treating it as a negotiable invoice rather than a binding treaty threatens the very system that has prevented another large-scale European conflict. This chart shows NATO defense spending. Many European nations missed the 2% target for decades, while the US stayed above 3%. This gap means American taxpayers funded European defense, while those countries funded their own social programs. Long before the current political cycle, this imbalance provided a specific, data-driven argument for anyone looking to challenge the value of the alliance. By failing to meet their spending obligations, European leaders allowed a political fracture to grow within the US, one that adversaries can now use to erode American domestic support for the treaty. Formally leaving the alliance is a difficult legal process. A recent act of Congress now requires either a 2/3 Senate majority or a specific legislative act before any president can withdraw the United States from NATO. But the treaty doesn't have to be formally canceled to fail. A president can hollow out the alliance simply by staying inside it while publicly questioning if they would actually send troops to a member's aid. Deterrence is built on the absolute certainty of retaliation. If an adversary believes the US might hesitate, the treaty loses its power to prevent an attack. The moment that certainty is replaced by ambiguity, the alliance loses its primary function. It becomes a document rather than a deterrent. Consider Estonia. It shares a border with Russia, and 25% of its citizens are ethnically Russian, making it the most likely location for a direct test of American resolve. Unmarked tactical units cross the border, seizing local infrastructure, while Moscow claims it is merely protecting ethnic Russians from local unrest. This forces the alliance to confront Article 5, the clause stating that an attack on one member is an attack on all. This is the text of the treaty. While it defines an attack on all, it states only that members will take such action as it deems necessary. It does not explicitly mandate a military response. A president could legally satisfy Article 5 by issuing economic sanctions and strongly worded statements rather than deploying the U.S. Air Force or American ground troops. Grave. If the U.S. chooses sanctions over soldiers in Estonia, the ultimate security guarantee vanishes. Every member's aide would immediately know that their safety is no longer guaranteed by the American military. European leaders are now preparing for that exact possibility. There is a frantic effort to build strategic autonomy, a defense capacity that functions even if Washington decides not to show up. Germany has increased its defense budget for the first time in decades, and Poland is currently building what will be the largest conventional army in Europe. This shift is being watched in Asia, where the Quad partnership relies on the same assumption of American reliability to deter regional threats. For India, the NATO crisis is a direct indicator of future stability. If a formal 75-year treaty proves conditional, then informal security partnerships in the Indo-Pacific carry far less weight. Adversaries are not waiting for a formal American exit. They are looking for the moment when ambiguity makes the cost of an invasion look manageable. NATO has kept the peace since 1949. Whether it continues to do so depends entirely on whether the alliance is viewed as a permanent commitment or a deal that can be renegotiated every 4 years.